The story begins with a company called Genesis, which has sent 6 astronauts on a one-way trip to Mars. These astronauts are not just visiting, they will be staying on Mars forever to begin the first permanent human settlement there. The hope is that if they succeed, more humans can be sent to join them in the future. After 2 months into their journey, the leader of the crew, Sarah, makes an unexpected discovery. She's pregnant. When her team members and the officials back on Earth learn about this, they are deeply worried. However, the mission continues as planned, and before long, the crew finally reaches Mars. As they prepare for landing, it becomes clear that Sarah is about to give birth. With no other option, the 5 astronauts work together and successfully help her deliver a baby boy. Unfortunately, right after the birth, Sarah faces serious health complications due to the low gravity on Mars. Tragically, she passes away. Meanwhile, the team on Earth reviews the baby's medical reports and finds something unusual. Due to being born in Mars' weaker gravity, his body, particularly his heart, is very different from that of a child born on Earth. They realize that if the baby is brought back to Earth, he wouldn't be able to survive in Earth's gravity. The head of the Genesis company comes to a difficult decision. In order to save the child's life, he must remain on Mars. However, this will require a large amount of money to keep the Mars project going. To ensure they continue receiving funding and protect the future of Mars colonization, the company decides to keep the entire situation a secret from the public. The entire team agrees to keep the existence of Gardner, the child born on Mars, a secret. They decide not to reveal any information about him to the outside world. As the years pass, Gardner grows up, and by the time he turns 16, he has only met 14 people in his entire life. Despite his limited interactions, Gardner is exceptionally intelligent. This is partly due to the fact that he's been raised by astronauts, and partly because he was born with a sharp mind. Living in the research camp on Mars with the astronauts, Gardner has always had questions about his past, especially about his parents. He knows nothing about his mother, Sarah, and doesn't even know who his father is. These unanswered questions weigh heavily on him, but he has no one to turn to for answers. In the camp, there is a locker that once belonged to his mother, but Gardner doesn't know the passcode to open it. One day, out of curiosity and determination, he hacks the code and opens the locker. Inside, he finds a bag that contains a ring and a pen drive. Gardner puts the ring on his finger and connects the pen drive to the camp system. When he opens the files, he discovers a video of his mother on a beach with a man. In the video, his mother is laughing and joking with the man before they both head home. Gardner assumes the man is his father and takes a screenshot of his image from the video. Meanwhile, Gardner has been chatting online with a girl from Earth named Tulsa. Tulsa is a tomboy, bold and adventurous, who longs to live freely and travel the world. She tells Gardner about her dreams, and he confides in her about his own limitations, revealing that he has osteogenesis imperfecta, a condition that makes his bones fragile and prevents him from leaving Mars. However, Tulsa doesn't believe him. She thinks he's joking and imagines that he's just a boy living in a tent on Park Avenue in New York City. Tulsa, who has no family, is constantly moved between different foster homes. She lives with different families for short periods, never having a stable place to call home. Gardner, on the other hand, is feeling increasingly trapped in his isolated existence on Mars. One day, in a moment of frustration and longing for freedom, he sneaks out of the research center and recklessly drives his vehicle at high speeds. Unfortunately, his car flips over, leaving him in a dangerous situation. After the accident with the overturned car, Gardner finds himself in a life-threatening situation as his oxygen pipe disconnects, leaving him gasping for air. Just in time, Kendra, one of the astronauts who cares for Gardner deeply, arrives and rescues him. She helps him breathe again and brings him back to the research center. Once they are safe, Kendra asks Gardner how he managed to unlock his mother's locker and find the password. Gardner replies casually, saying that since he's been raised by scientists, figuring it out was no big deal for him. Later, Kendra has a serious conversation with the senior boss of Genesis, suggesting that Gardner should be brought to Earth because it's what he desires. The boss also wants Gardner to come to Earth, but knows the risks are extremely high due to Gardner's unique condition. He explains that Gardner would need to undergo a series of complex surgeries to survive Earth's gravity, and even then, it might not be safe. Kendra persuades him, and finally the decision is made to train Gardner physically and prepare him for the necessary surgeries so he can make the journey to Earth. Gardner endures several difficult surgeries, and his physical fitness is gradually enhanced. Kendra is there to support him every step of the way. Once the preparations are complete, Gardner contacts Tulsa on Earth to tell her the news. He explains that after undergoing surgeries and physical training, he will finally be able to make the journey to Earth, though it will take a few more months. Tulsa, with her usual boldness, tells him to hurry up before the foster care system moves her again. With everything in place, Gardner is ready for his journey. As the spacecraft heads toward Earth, Gardner turns to Kendra and asks if she knows where his father lives. Kendra gently responds that she doesn't know, and when Gardner presses further, asking if she knows his father's name, she again says no, but assures him that if she had known, she would have told him. When Gardner arrives on Earth, he undergoes additional medical tests, but the results are not in his favor. It becomes clear that he might be sent back to Mars, which frustrates him. Before they can act, Gardner decides to escape. For the first time, he feels the joy of being truly free, running across the Earth's surface. He tries to jump like he did on Mars, expecting to leap high due to the lower gravity he's used to, but Earth's stronger gravity prevents that, leaving him slightly disappointed. As he continues exploring, it begins to rain, something Gardner has never seen before. While others rush indoors, he stands in the rain, mesmerized by the experience. He enjoys every moment of it before catching a bus and heading to Tulsa's college to finally meet her. Kendra and the Genesis boss, suspecting Gardner would go to Tulsa, race to catch him. Gardner arrives at the college, delighted to see so many kids his age for the first time. He spots Tulsa and excitedly calls her name. She recognizes him, but immediately slaps him, angry that he had disappeared for 7 months without any contact. Gardner, confused, explains that he had been on a special trip and couldn't reach out to her. After some frustration, Tulsa forgives him, but says she needs to attend her class as the bell rings. Gardner, not wanting to be apart, follows her into the classroom, where the teacher assumes he's a new student and tells him to take a seat at the back. During the lesson, the teacher asks a question about Thomas Edison, to which another student responds that Edison was badass. Gardner corrects him, explaining that Edison was responsible for creating direct current, while Nikola Tesla invented alternating current, and that what made Edison bad was his treatment of Tesla. After Gardner's insightful answer in class, the students clap in appreciation. They don't know yet that Gardner was raised among scientists, but they are impressed by his knowledge. When the class ends, Tulsa confronts Gardner, demanding the truth. She asks him, "Where are you really from?" Gardner replies, "From Mars." Tulsa laughs in disbelief, thinking he's joking. Gardner insists, explaining that his mother died when he was born and that now he's on Earth to find his father. He shows Tulsa a photo of his dad, but admits he doesn't know where to start looking. Tulsa, sensing his sincerity, agrees to help him, and they decide to search for his father together. They head to Tulsa's house to gather some money for their journey. However, the head of Genesis and Kendra, who had been tracking Gardner, show up. They warn Gardner that his health is deteriorating and insist that he return to Mars with them before it's too late. Gardner, determined to find his father, refuses and runs off. Kendra and the Genesis boss chase after him in a car. As they're closing in, Tulsa arrives in an old helicopter she found near her home. Though she doesn't know how to operate it well, she and Gardner manage to escape. However, during the flight, the helicopter runs out of fuel, leading to a rough descent. They barely manage to jump out just before the helicopter crashes into an old warehouse, causing a massive explosion. Kendra and the Genesis boss panic when they witness the explosion, fearing the worst, but soon discover that Tulsa and Gardner had jumped to safety. Seizing the moment, Tulsa and Gardner flee the scene and rent a car to continue their journey. Gardner is filled with awe and excitement as he experiences Earth for the first time, marveling at everything around him. Along the way, they pass a horse, which frightens Gardner since he's never seen one before. Tulsa is both amused and shocked, still struggling to believe Gardner's story about being from Mars. Gardner has only a photo of his father, but no address. However, he also has his mother's ring. When Tulsa looks up the ring online, she discovers that it's a rare and special wedding ring. The search leads them to the address of the jeweler who made it, and they decide to travel there, hoping to find Gardner's father. Meanwhile, Kendra receives an urgent call from Gardner's doctor. The results of Gardner's blood tests are alarming. His heart is struggling to handle Earth's atmosphere and gravity. The doctor warns that the situation is critical, and Gardner's life is in danger if he doesn't leave Earth soon. Distressed by the news, Kendra and the head of Genesis double their efforts to find Gardner in Tulsa, fearing for Gardner's life. On the other hand, Gardner and Tulsa are having the time of their lives, enjoying their journey together. They buy new clothes, a tent to camp in, and continue their adventure, unaware of the growing danger. Along the way, their bond deepens, and they become much closer. Eventually, they reach the jeweler who had made Gardner's mother's wedding ring. The man gives them an old bill, which includes an address. With this new lead, they set off for the address, filled with hope. However, during the trip, Gardner's health takes a sudden turn for the worse. His nose begins to bleed, and he collapses unconscious. unconscious. Tulsa rushes him to the nearest hospital, where the doctors are stunned by what they find. Gardner's heart is significantly larger than a normal human's, and his bones are of an entirely different structure. Realizing the truth, Tulsa understands that everything Gardner has said about being from Mars is true. His body isn't built to survive in Earth's gravity. When Gardner regains consciousness, he urges Tulsa to leave the hospital. Despite Tulsa's concern, Gardner insists that the doctors won't be able to help him. He admits that while he loves Earth and wants to stay, Earth doesn't seem to want him back. Reluctantly, Tulsa agrees, and they flee the hospital just before Kendra and the head of Genesis arrive. However, by the time they reach the hospital, Gardner and Tulsa are already gone. Tulsa and Gardner finally arrive at the address from the jeweler's bill. It's the same house from the photo, and when they enter, they find the man from the picture sitting inside. Gardner is overjoyed, believing he has finally found his father. He shows the man the photo of him with Gardner's mother, Sarah, and tells him that she died while giving birth to him. Gardner reveals that Sarah Elite was his mother, and he has come all this way to meet his father. The man, visibly emotional, responds by saying that Sarah's death was an accident. Gardner insists that what he says is the truth and that the man is his father. But instead of embracing Gardner, the man becomes defensive, overwhelmed by emotion. He tells Gardner to stop, threatening to call the police. As he reaches for the phone, Tulsa, angry and protective of Gardner, intervenes. She pleads with the man, saying, "He doesn't know anyone on this planet. He came all this way just to find you, and he's dying." The man, clearly overwhelmed, responds, "I don't know who you are or why you're doing this, but I'm not his father." Tulsa, confused, asks, "Then who are you? You're in his photo." The man hesitates for a moment before revealing, "Sarah was my sister." Tulsa is shocked by the revelation, and when she looks around, she notices that Gardner has disappeared. Rushing outside, she sees Gardner walking toward the sea. She shouts, "He's not your father, he's your uncle." Gardner, looking out at the ocean, replies softly, "It doesn't matter. My mom was here. I can feel her here. I didn't choose to be born on Mars, but I can choose the place of my death." Gardner collapses into the water, unconscious. Just then, Kendra and the head of Genesis arrive. Together, the three of them pull Gardner from the water and, after a tense struggle, manage to revive him. The head of Genesis, who had been stoic all along, breaks down into tears. Gardner, now awake but weak, looks at him and asks, "What was my mom like?" The man tearfully responds, "She was brave and kind, fearless." Gardner, sensing the truth, says, "You're my father, aren't you?" After a pause, the man nods and admits, "Yes, I am." At this moment, an ambulance arrives and they quickly place Gardner inside. He is taken to a nearby airport where a special plane awaits. The plan is to take Gardner high enough above Earth's gravity, allowing his body to stabilize. As the plane takes off, Gardner's father, deeply worried, sits beside the pilot. Knowing that Gardner's only chance is to escape gravity, he takes control of the plane, flying it upwards at full speed, despite the pilot's instructions to remain within the atmosphere. As they break through the atmosphere and into space, gravity's hold weakens, and everything inside the plane becomes weightless. Gardner's health improves almost instantly. He begins to feel better, floating in the air along with everyone else. Though Gardner's health has recovered, the moment is bittersweet. Back on Earth, preparations are made to send Gardner back to Mars, as staying on Earth is no longer possible. Tulsa, Kendra, and Gardner's father are heartbroken as they say their goodbyes. Gardner, too, is filled with sadness, but he knows that Mars is where he belongs. He bids them farewell and returns to Mars. Once back on Mars, Gardner and Tulsa resume their long-distance communication, talking regularly. One day, Kendra visits Tulsa and surprises her with the news that she has retired from her job and decided to adopt her. Kendra invites Tulsa to live with her and suggests that one day they can train together to visit Gardner on Mars. The movie concludes with Gardner and his father walking together on Mars, finally content. Gardner has found the answers he was looking for, and Mars has become his true home. The story closes with a sense of peace, though Tulsa, Kendra, and Gardner's father feel the weight of their separation. Though the movie didn't perform well at the box office, its emotional journey leaves a lasting impression. What did you think of the story? Let us know in the comments below.